Alright, what's going on, guys? Trev back again, here to bring you another video. This one's going to be doing a annual recap video, and this one we're going to be recapping all of the character deaths in the Walking Dead television series up to Part C of The Walking Dead Season 10. Alright, so quite a few years of Walking Dead now that we are over a decade, and quite a few characters. So we'll take a look back, recap all of the different character deaths that we've seen throughout the series, and the link will be in the description to undeadwalking.com where you guys can see the list there. So the very first one of the series, Season 1, Episode 1, let's get things rolling with Summer, who is the teddy bear girl zombie that Rick puts down, Rick kills. Very cool. I've even seen some Halloween dolls made of her, ones that kind of walk around and holding a teddy bear, that kind of thing. So that was the first one. Then we have Leon Bassett, who was a zombified police officer that Rick knew prior that he puts down. We have Hannah, who is a bicycle girl zombie we also know of, and we got to see a little bit more about her in the webisodes, which were released by AMC, many years ago at this point, which is pretty cool just to kind of hear about her and how she kind of became bicycle girl zombie. We have Wayne Dunlap, who also was zombified, and then we start with our survivors. So we have Ed Peltier, of course, Carol's husband, who was killed off in the first season. We had Amy, who of course is Andrea's sister, who was also killed off in the very first season. We had Jim, the mechanic, who was seemed to be a pretty good guy, killed off in the first season. Jackie in the finale, as well as Dr. Edwin Jenner. The first season is actually the season with the least amount of character deaths, as well as the total season with only having 5 survivor deaths in the entire season as far as named characters go. And into season 2, fun season, man. So season 2 starts off, we have a pretty big character death, which is for Carol's only other surviving family member that we know of, which is her daughter, Sophia. So Sophia is killed off pretty much at the start, but we don't know it until the mid-season finale. But in terms of chronological order for the series, Sophia is the first death of season 2. Following Sophia's death, we have Otis, of course, as a result of Shane's actions in saving Carl. We have Dave and Tony in the bar, and then we had Sean. Dale, oh man, I definitely miss seeing Dale in the series. That one is one of the most emotional and one of the ones I remember the most out of any of these for sure. Then we had Randall, Randall Culver, and then we had Shane. Oh man, emotional. So season 2 had a couple of really emotional ones here near the end with Dale, Shane, and then also in the finale we had Jimmy and Patricia. So season 2 was also a little bit shy considering the number of episodes were more. We only had 10 named character deaths in season 2. Season 3, the prison, Woodbury, the governor, all kinds of awesomeness. So this season we start to pick up the pace with a few more character deaths because there's a lot more characters now to be killed off. You bring in Woodbury, you have the prison group there, you add on some prisoners, and all kinds of awesome goodness occurs. To start things off, our first character death for season 3 is of one of the prisoners, Big Tiny, at the hands of some zombies. Following that, we have Thomas, who's killed by Rick, machete with a red handle. Brutal kill, if you guys remember that one. That was wicked sweet, man. Just, oh my god, crazy. Then we had Franklin and Brady. We had Wilson. We had T-Dog. Oh, T-Dog, yeah. Oh man, that one was unexpected. Very, very unexpected to happen at that time, I want to say, and really sad. But he got to go out like a hero, and that's always good. And we had Andrew. Oh man, he was a good villain though, right? Easy to hate. You're supposed to hate him. You're not supposed to like him. And it was cool to finally get to see him killed off. Then we had probably the biggest in the whole series, I want to say, or at least one of them, Lori Grimes. I mean, it's going to be hard to see if there's ever a character death that has that kind of impact on viewers. A lot of people really did not see that one coming. To see your lead character, your protagonist's wife, be killed off, man, it was. I think it was a great thing for the show because it showed that they were going to take it very seriously and realistically with regards to the characters, and that nobody was safe. Like a lot of horror movies, the immediate family of your lead character is not 100% safe. And this one was, oh man, really, I'm sure for a lot of people, they never read the comics, super unexpected. And that made Killer Within, with the double death, T-Dog and Lori, one of the craziest episodes ever, for sure. Then we had Tim and Crowley. We had Gargiulio, who I just remember for the way Michael Rooker or Merle says Gargiulio. That's awesome. And the way he kind of sets him up and everything, and, uses him to save his own skin. Very clever. Really love that stuff with Michonne getting away in that. That was cool. Then we had Michael Coleman. We had Warren. We had Donna, who was, I do remember that one, of course, with coming in with Tyrese's group. We had Oscar, who was probably the cool. Well, him and Axel were the coolest, I think, of the prisoners for sure. Kind of ended up being a good guy and ended up being, a contributor to the group, which was good. We had Haley. I just remember her for her conversation with Andrea, like that one time. That's it. We had Richard Foster, and we had Axel, who was pretty funny. I do miss seeing Axel in the show. It's kind of unfortunate we didn't get to see more with him, because he is pretty funny in the comics. He's funny as well too, and they didn't use him as much in the show, but oh well, what can you do? Then we had Ben. We had Merle. Oh man, this is like pretty much the biggest, well, one of the biggest ones for season 3. I mean, the Merle death was huge. At least he got to go out like a champ, but a really fun character, definitely a character, just like Shane and Dale, one of those major character deaths in the show near the end of season 3 there. We had Milton. Oh, there's a character that we don't hear about too much these days, Milton. He was a really fun character, I thought. He was really cool. He was a good guy, and, when you're a good guy with the governor, doesn't really mesh well. It doesn't bode well for you. So Milton, personal kind of season character, one of my favorite season characters, I would say. A character that comes in, is only there for one season, and then is killed off. Really fun. And we had Jody, we had Paul and Alan, and to cap off season 3 as like the most death-heavy season ever, we had Andrea in the end of the season, which was really totally unnecessary. You really did not need to do that, because you had already killed off Merle. Earlier that season, you had killed off Lori and T-Dog. Oh man, as well as all these others here this season as well too. But Andrea's for sure. That's one of those moments people have asked, like, Trev, why don't you do a video worst changes from the comics? Yeah, that one for the season 3 finale, that's got to be up there as one of the absolute worst changes in the whole thing. So season 3, a pretty death-heavy season, the most death-heavy we've had so far in terms of, actual named characters. This one had a total of 25. Rolling into season 4 now, so we have the continuation of the time in the television series spent at the prison with one of our biggest core groups we've had so far of survivors. We have basically assimilated all of these survivors from Woodbury into our main core group at the prison, which makes for a lot of characters being as a part of Rick's group or our main core group at this time. We start things off with season 4 with 30 days without an accident. The big spot, Beth, Daryl, the run, and how everything goes down. We do see a main character death in the premiere with Zach, who is Beth's second television series boyfriend. Then we have Clara. We had Violet. Oh, the pig. Yes, we'll count some animals here and there if they're named, right? Which was, because we had the stuff that was happening with the illness around the prison. Patrick, who is kind of the character that sort of starts the outbreak inside the prison when he gets sick. Then we have Charlie, we have Greg, we have Owen, Thomas, Chloe, Ryan Samuels, and some of our pigs, Pork Chop, Bandit, and Truffle. So a lot of character names here, many of which don't really mean much to us, because these are all like new characters that have kind of been added in the time skip, and we haven't really spent much time with any of these to really have any of them be that impactful to us, except for maybe Ryan or depending on which characters you might have liked in the short time we had this season with them. And we had Karen and David, which was pretty sad for sure. The Karen death for Tyrese was really big. Also for Carol and her kind of evolution and where she's going in the series. This was a pivotal point for her, I think, for us to get to see. to what extents is she willing to go to protect the group? And it sounds like she's willing to go just about anywhere she needs to in order to help the group at this time. Then we have Anna, we have Mr. Jacobson, we have Henry, we have Norris, we have Dr. Caleb, who I do remember because he was helping out with the outbreak there and the illness and what was happening. We have David Chambler. We have Caesar Martinez. So Martinez, you guys remember Martinez, really cool character. Killed off by the governor, of course, with the golf club, brutal, and then the zombie pit. We have Pete, who also suffered his fate at the hands of the governor, brutal. We have Megan Chambler. We have, which was a pretty sad one as well too. Well, if you like the governor in that, it's sad for her as well too. We have Herschel, of course, which was again one of those major, huge character deaths, one of the biggest in the whole series. Part of what made Too Far Gone one of the pivotal points in the series, so definitely a sad one there and one of our major ones for this season. We had Julio Cesar Cedillo, we had Alicia, we had Mitch Dolgan, then we had the governor. So Mitch and the governor. Mitch, seeing him, because he was a great bad guy, really easy to hate. Really a bad guy we couldn't wait to see. Daryl ends up being the one to do it. That was one of the best moments for Daryl, I want to say, in the first few seasons for sure. The governor's kill, so for Michonne and also for the fight with Rick and everything, that was a huge one, man, for the series. One of the biggest kills in the entire series because up until this point, I felt like he was the best villain we had up until now, of course, with Negan not arriving yet. And it was just a big one. David Morrissey, huge actor, had been in the show for a long time now, a lot of episodes from the start of season 3. And, man, the governor was really impressive. And we had Flame, of course. We had Christopher and his father. We had Lily, which, of course, her and her relationship that she had with the governor and that. We had Lou. We had Mika Samuels and her, being killed at the hands of her sister Lizzie, which was one of the darkest parts in the entire series, I want to say, even up until now. Very dark part of the series. And very emotional for those two, even though they hadn't been in the show that long. They were kind of like seasoned characters, I suppose, or a couple, prison time characters. Still, it was one of the saddest that there was in the entire show for sure. Then we had Len, who was a pretty good bad guy, I want to say, as well, part of Joe's group. And we had Joe. We had Dan, Tony, Harley, and Billy. So all these guys, members of the Claimers. So we basically have the whole Claimers group getting wiped out. I did like them as kind of a mini-series villain, so like a half-season group of villains when Rick and the others were kind of at their weakest point after the assault on the prison by the governor and his kind of secondary group that he gets there in the show. So the group is kind of down. They're separated. They're at their weakest, and then Rick and the others have to kind of fight through with a lot fewer numbers against a group that does outnumber them. But they're able to fight through them and defeat Len, Joe, Dan, Tony, Harley, and Billy. So really cool there near the season 4 finale. A lot of people still really love that finale. Really good one. And then we wrap up with Alex for the end of that season. So that gives us a total of 43, including a few animals, but 43, which makes season 4 surprisingly the season with the most named character deaths so far in the Walking Dead TV series. That's up to season 8. Very surprising, but if you look at the fact that they added on all of these characters from Woodbury, and they were basically all killed off that season, so you had this whole add-in, and pretty much nobody really survives that long term. Nobody really, unless you want to consider like Tara, because her group, that kind of comes in season 4, but as far as like the season 3 Woodbury group, Woodbury is basically, gone at this point out of the show 100%. So 43, that's crazy. That's a lot. And into The Walking Dead Season 5. Man, a lot of people really like Season 5. I think it's because it has really great variety throughout the season. You have a lot of different little story arcs throughout. You've got Terminus and the Hunters finishing up. You've got the Beth stuff with the hospital there. and the Dawn and those set of villains there grouped there with the police. And then you have in the second half Time on the Road and eventually to Alexandria. So to start things off with season 5, for our season 5 deaths, we start off with Sam, which is it's funny to see because I always think of the Penguin from Gotham because he's it's a pretty big role for the actor, and it's crazy to think that he was in The Walking Dead so briefly, but he was there. Then we have Mary, who was of course Gareth's mom, and so that was pretty cool in the premiere there, where Carol kind of goes in and storms the place. We've got Gareth and the Hunters, so that includes Mike, Albert, Teresa, Greg, and Martin, who's the other standout. I think Martin was a really good bad guy. He was, almost as memorable as Gareth, I want to say, as the leader of the Hunters and the Termites, so to speak, the Terminus crew. Really cool to see that finish up. Some really brutal deaths there near the end with the 4 walls and a roof with the church and all that, so that was really good. Then we had Bob Stuckey, which was a really sad one. We had Gavin Trevitt. We had Joan. We had Officer Gorman, who you guys remember, he's the creeper one, pervy one that tries to come on to Beth. We've got Officer Jeffries and Officer O'Donnell. We've got Officer Bob Lamson, who I do remember that one because that's the one that Rick runs over, which is pretty sweet. So that's a memorable one for sure, and a pretty good group of, I want to say, villains here with the officers, or kind of villains, yeah. Then we've got Beth. So for season 5, that's probably our biggest death, was the death of Beth. I remember the reaction. That was a huge one. It's kind of the Herschel for this season, or right up there with Andrea, Lori, some of these other really big deaths throughout the series that people really, a lot of them did not see coming, and people really liked her character, Emily Kinney as Beth. Then we had Dawn, so of course Dawn was killed off there as well too. And fitting in for the group. I could really see that group of villains meaning much more to the series aside from that one part, and we'll probably never see anything to do with that story arc again, I don't think. Tyrese, so that one was really sad. Another one of those huge character deaths right up there with Beth and some of the others that we've seen. Got a lot of reaction, but it was really, really sad the way they chose to do it. I like the hallucinations, though. That was really cool to see. And that was a pretty big death as well too. Then there was Duke, the dog. There's Buttons. Nice. I remember Buttons with Daryl, and that was pretty fun. Then there's Aiden Monroe, who had one of the worst deaths ever. Aiden's was super. Oh my God, just really, really brutal. And then even more so than his was Noah's death. I think I did top 5 or top 10 most brutal moments in The Walking Dead, and both of those were up there, or most brutal deaths. They had 2 of them. Noah probably has the worst death ever, to be honest with you. Even worse than Glenn's later on. Noah's was terrible. Reg Monroe at the hands of Pete, and then eventually Pete to round off the season. That ends season 5 with a total of 24 character deaths, which is less than season 4, less than season... let me just check here. So yeah, season 4 had 43, season 3 had 25. So a little bit less than both of those seasons, but still quite a few, and a really fun season, I think. Like I said, had a lot of variety in it. Now going into season 6. So if you guys don't know me or you haven't seen many of my videos, season 6 is my favorite season. Really love season 6. What an exciting season all the way through, going from the No Way Out story arc, starting with the huge amount, the mega zombie herd, going into the appearance of the Saviors, with eventually Negan coming in at the end. Man, what an awesome season. Love season 6. So to start things off, we start off at the beginning there with the huge mega zombie herd, and we have the death of Carter, who's a character that wasn't really in season 5. He kind of shows up there as kind of a background Alexandrian that sort of stands out in season 6, as many of the others here as well do too. They kind of get cast in after season 5, and they kind of just appear in season 6. Heath is another one of those that kind of returns from a run, like as if he's always kind of been there, but not really. Carter's one of those guys. So Carter's death was pretty exciting as part of the premiere there, and a bit brutal too. He gets kind of shushed after he's killed. We find out about Enid's parents, so I suppose you can count that. You've got Shelley Neudemeyer, you've got Richards, you've got Alfred, you've got Aaron, Polly, Michael, Stacy, Barnes, Sturgis, Tommy, Annie, David, and then we got Nicholas. So a lot of these characters here, you probably don't remember, you probably don't hardly recognize at this point in the show. Again, similar to season 4, they added on a lot of characters with Alexandria. A lot of them were named, but we never really got to see much with them. We had JSS, which was a very exciting episode where you have the wolves attacking, the wolves descend, and really exciting, and you have a lot of these kind of, I want to say like, red shirts that are killed off as part of Alexandria. So quite a few names here without that much meaning for a lot of them. Then going on from there. So Nicholas with Thank You, that was a big one with Glenn. That's definitely one of the most memorable ones. And such an exciting time for the show with that amount of zombies and the storyline and everything. Man, really incredible. Then we had Tabitha. Aw, Tabitha in the flashback, right? I guess she counts. And then we've got Eastman. So Eastman should count as well too. Eastman and Morgan. So that was good. Liked him as a character. He was really kind of cool and good for Morgan. Then we had Betsy. We had Deanna Monroe. So that was a pretty big one with Deanna. That's just one I remember a lot. I really remember the music that they used. That's something I remember a lot from that episode, start to finish. It was a really sad one for her, but I thought it was really good. It's kind of to show like the Alexandrians really didn't have what it's going to take to survive in the zombie apocalypse, but they had a pretty good run, and I liked what they did with that. Then we had the group of saviors. So we had Bud and his group, T, and kind of the other unnamed ones that were with them. We had the Anderson massacre. So we had Sam Anderson is what starts it. Really brutal, no way out. Probably still my favorite episode ever of the TV series. We had Jesse Anderson. We had Ron Anderson. And then, so really just, oh man, really, really crazy stuff there with Michonne kind of protecting Carl, Rick, and the others. And just, oh man, No Way Out was insane. Then we had Owen. We had Ethan. We had Donnie, Molly, Michelle, and Paula. So the group kind of in same boat in that. I really hated Paula as a villain. She was I did not like Paula at all. Really scratchy and everything. It's just glad to see she got killed off. Hated her. Well, I guess maybe you're supposed to hate her, so it's what it is. Then we had Denise. Oh man, Denise Cloyd, Tara's another girlfriend that she had in the show because she was with Alicia earlier than that, even though Alicia was a villain. But with her and Denise, that was a pretty sad one, and really exciting there near the finale, and kind of came out of nowhere. Really liked how they worked that in. It was really surprising for the viewer, like shocking, like, oh my god, you don't really see it, and boom, it just hits you like it hits her. That was a really good one. Then we have some saviors. So we had Neil of the Saviors, we had Miles of the Saviors, we had Jiro of the Saviors, and we had Roman of the Saviors, which I do remember with his kind of, fight with Carol and what happens with that, and Morgan kind of having to kill in order to save her. So season 6, action-packed season all the way through. Crazy amount of zombies, crazy amount of new saviors coming in there, and that will finish up the season with 36 total named character deaths, which is the second most of the show that we've had so far, only after season 4, which has the most because of the prison and the group that they add on from Woodburn. Now we get into season 7. So we start things off season 7 with probably the most hyped episode of any series ever, and I really do mean that. I mean, before this episode, before the season 7 premiere, The Day Will Come When You Won't Be, there was so much hype. It was just unreal. It was absolutely unbelievable. Maybe the most hyped part in the entire series. So we start that off with the double death, of course. Not difficult to remember these ones, right? Not going to forget these ones. Abraham to start, so he's the first death of the season. Followed quickly afterwards by Glenn in the double death premiere. Really crazy stuff, really brutal. We've been talking about it all year. It's affected the show. It's affected, AMC's direction. And, oh, man, it was so huge. And, those two, if Laurie's not the biggest death in the series, then I think Glenn might be. I wouldn't say Abraham, because his is kind of like there. But then when it happens to Glenn afterwards, it's like, wow. Definitely one of the most death-heavy moments in the entire series. Maybe trumping Killer Within as like, the most surprising for regular viewers, whom it wasn't spoiled for or anything like that. So crazy double death in the premiere. Then we follow that up with Gordon, with George, with Chris, with Fat Joey. I do remember that one. Isabel at the hands of Michonne. And then we have Spencer Monroe. We have Olivia, which those two were, yeah, they were something, but I wouldn't say they were huge character deaths. I just kind of want to say that they were there. They were pretty big, but they weren't like Abraham, Glenn, Tyrese, Beth, some of the others. You know, they were there somewhat. Emmett Carson, right? So the older Dr. Carson. Then we have Benjamin, Richard, and then at the hands of Morgan, and then we follow it up with David in quite a brutal fashion that was just like straight out of the comic books. And finally, Sasha in the finale. So even though there's all the craziness and chaos in the finale, really Sasha is the only major character death or named character death. And I'd say that one is a big death. That's in the same league as Abraham and Beth and some of the other ones, Tyrese and some of the others that we've had. Very big death to finish off with Season 7. And on to The Walking Dead Season 8. So we start things off with the first character death for this season from episode 802, The Damned, with Andy. Next we had Freddie, and then Dino, Mara, Nelson, Francine, and Morales. Worst season ever for character deaths. Oh man, definitely gotta remember this one. Season 8 has a lot because it was all out war, so there was a lot of different kind of back and forth. A lot of character deaths in The Walking Dead Season 8, but this one's unforgettable, man. Absolutely love. I wish he would have been in the series more. I wish we could have seen more from him, and that since they brought him back, I would have liked to have seen him more afterwards. But at least they brought him back. It was cool to even see him come back for a bit. But yeah, that one, you guys know that one got me. And then we have Eric, which is another one that's a pretty big one for Aaron, especially, as you guys would know. And it's good to see that Aaron's still alive in the series. It's good to see that he's still doing well. I think Ross Marquand does a great job. And yeah, it's kind of like, it's kind of hard to remember sometimes, right back to like with Eric and Aaron and everything. Then we had Todd. We had Daniel. This is the guy that's on OnlyFans, right? I think so. Yeah, played by Daniel Newman. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so anyway. Next we have Rudy. Just a lot of unnamed characters, like a lot of ones that you just wouldn't even know. Alvaro. Gunther. I like this guy because he sort of reminds me of like a Jeffrey Dahmer type of serial killer or something like this. He was actually pretty good as like a mini bad guy, just for like an episode or two. Not too bad. For Ezekiel, like a villain for Ezekiel. It's a funny name too, Gunther. There's a musician named Gunther, which is pretty funny. Check him out if you haven't seen. He's got a sweet mustache. Joey. And then we have Shiva. Oh, man, this one. You guys remember this one? It's unfortunate we couldn't have seen more of Shiva in the Walking Dead television series, but, it's going to be difficult to do with Tiger. So you're going to kind of want to get her out of the way as soon as you can if you're going to do it, yeah, because each time you have her in a scene, it's going to be difficult to do the CG. It takes the editing guys a long time to do it, so it's difficult to pull off. At least we got to see Shiva a little bit in the TV series version, but would have loved to have seen more, but understand why you probably couldn't. Then we have Yago, Leo, and Zia. We have Natanya from the Oceanside, so that one's a, I'm going to say it's big, but it's what it is. Neil, we have Dean, Gavin. Now that one's a pretty good one for Morgan, if you guys remember. And I liked how they kind of brought him back as Morgan's ghost, and then that kind of drove Morgan to leave, and then we saw him later in Fear. And here we have it. I want to say the biggest character death of the Walking Dead television series. At a time, I never thought that any of the character deaths that we would see could surpass Lori, could surpass Glenn and Abraham. But I'd have to say this one did. Maybe not in a good way, though, because I think we all miss seeing Carl in the Walking Dead television series. So I hope to see him back in the movies. Definitely the biggest character death probably of the series, but almost such an impactful one that you feel like it almost hurt the series to see him go because just nobody wanted to see it. It was highly unexpected. And, man, so sad, right? So sad. But happy to see that Chandler's doing well and everything, and hoping that, like I said, at some point we could see him again, even if it's just in a Rick hallucination scene or something. Then we have Brian and Tamiel. We have Harlan Carson, the doctor. We have Derek. We have Tobin. We have Bunch here from the time when they kind of all turned as a result of being infected from the weapons. So we have Kurt, Kevin, Dana, Wesley, Caddy, and Bruce. But again, these are like, characters that you wouldn't really know so much. So it's not as, even all of them together doesn't, it's not as much as like a Tobin or a Carl, that's for sure. Evan and Riley. We have Jared. We have Gary. We have Simon. That was a good one. I loved the fight between him and Negan. That was absolutely awesome. We had Lance and Duke, and that gives us a total of 40 character deaths for The Walking Dead Season 8. And on to The Walking Dead Season 9. Oh, man, Rick's final season. Okay, so we start the season off with Kenneth, Sutton, Ken, and then there is Gregory, which this one was actually pretty big because Gregory was in the show for a while and he was a pretty forefront character. So I did like that one. Hanging Ordered by Maggie Rhee. Yeah, that's a good one. Then we had Justin. I kind of remember his fight with Daryl, if you guys remember that. That was kind of cool with the bridge and everything. Then we had Arat, which was also a pretty good one because she was in there a while with the Saviors. And then we had Kathy and Norris, Jed and Regina, and then Jesus. Oh man, so this would be going to post-Rick period, right? So we will not include Rick, as technically that was not a character death, even though he did leave the show at this time. Even though that's the case, he left it alive. So it's sort of a character death for Rick in The Walking Dead Season 9, but not really. It's a character death for the TV series that we will not be seeing Rick again in the TV series categorically. But then again, the TV series is going to be wrapping up fairly soon anyway, and we can look forward to seeing him on the big screen in the movie version. So Jesus... pretty big one as well, too. But yeah, I did get kind of, the attention wasn't exactly on it, but it was a really good way to introduce the Whisperers with this one, I thought. So it was impactful. Then we had Frank, Mattias, and Rose. We had Helen and Sean. Oh yeah, this one was pretty brutal. If you guys remember where they were kind of getting going with the Whisperers. They're just so savage, right? The Whisperers so savage, so brutal, absolutely. In retrospect, we had Rasmus and Zion. Then we had Jocelyn, which was, I did like this one a lot with Scars. Some people didn't like this this one with Scars. They didn't like Scars, but I liked it. I thought it was good. I thought Jocelyn kind of turning on and everything was cool, and then to see them kind of get their revenge and everything, it was absolutely horrifying episode, I thought. So good one. Mitchell, Linus, Gina, and PJ. Oh, it's so brutal, right? When you get the kids that get twisted, it's so dark, right? Oh man. So I did like Scars a lot. We had Hildy and Miles, and then we had Martin and Casper. We had Ozzy and Alec, DJ and Frankie, Rodney and Addie, Tammy Rose, Enid, and Tara with and Henry at the end with the Pike scenes. So yeah, that was a lot at the end of the season. So that gives us 35 in total for The Walking Dead Season 9. I did think that some of these deaths were pretty big. The Tara death and Henry, I guess, would be the biggest. Enid, Tara, and Henry. Jesus as well, but the thing is with this season is that because you had Rick leaving, it just kind of overshadows everything else. So even though the Whispers were awesome and we had the Pike scenes and we had all that stuff happening, lots of character deaths around there, it just in memory it kind of fades because all I can think about when I think of The Walking Dead Season 9 was Rick leaving, right? So but yeah, quite a few character deaths at the end of the season there. And that brings us up to our current season for The Walking Dead. So first we had for The Walking Dead Season 10, Margot, and then we had Amelia and Milo. We had Brandon, if you guys remember, who was basically Negan's fanboy. We had Cheryl. We had Sadiq. So this one was really good with Sadiq and Dante, and then followed afterwards by Dante. But this was, I like the way they handled this for the first half of The Walking Dead season 10. I do remember a lot of people being a little bit disappointed. They maybe had hoped to see some more major character deaths in the first half of season 10. We did get to see them in the second half, but I liked the rivalry between Sadiq and Dante, and was glad to see Sadiq be avenged later on and Dante killed. And then we had Alfred. Laura, which was a pretty big one, if you guys remember. She was in the series for a really long time. We had Felix and Penny. We had Mary / Gamma, so Mary or Gamma. This one was pretty brutal to see, I guess, mostly because it was Beta who did it. And she just looked so defenseless, in that moment. Like, she tried, but it was like there's absolutely nothing she could do. That was a brutal one, man. Then we had Earl Sutton. We had Alpha. This one was huge, right? Her being in the series. Well, actually, not for really that long. About a season. About a season, unless you get a season and a half. She got to do the ghost stuff afterwards and that kind of thing. But about a season and a half for Alpha. Maybe a little more. But she was a great villain, one of the all-time greatest villains, I think, for The Walking Dead. And it was surprising at the end and everything. I love what they did with her and Negan in the TV series version. It was great, and that was a pretty surprising death to see actually play through. Then we had Rufus. I don't really know what to say about that one. Beatrice. And our final one up until now with Beta. So this one doesn't include Beta's massacre, if you guys remember when he snuck into Alexandria, because all the people that he killed were basically unnamed. So these are named character deaths for The Walking Dead. If there's any that I missed, you can go ahead and leave a comment below with them and kind of chime in with them. But 10 years of Walking Dead, guys. We're getting ready for The Walking Dead Season 10 Part C to come up. And these are all the character deaths up until current date that I was able to find. That brings us to 17 for The Walking Dead Season 10, which brings us to a grand total of 248 named character deaths for The Walking Dead television series up to The Walking Dead Season 10 Part C. So we've got about 2 years left of Walking Dead, guys. We will most likely do another update when the series finally ends, recapping all the character deaths from all throughout The Walking Dead. It's been an awesome ride. Had so much fun with you guys over the years. Please leave your comments below and let me know what character death do you think is the biggest for the series. Do you agree with me that it's got to be Carl? Or were there other ones in the series that kind of impacted you more? And, if so, which ones were they? So thank you guys for everything. And be sure to leave the comments below. And I'll see you guys soon again for another video. As always, it's Trev. And I'm saying peace later, guys. See you soon.